a great preacher. My favorite thing is learning how to preach. So if you would love to help me do that better, I would be really interested in your thoughts on this sermon that I'm about to share with you. That line that I just read to you, when Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the child leaped in her womb, is really exciting to me this year. Because I don't know about you, but reading this verse aloud makes me feel like I have a grasp on joy, which is a really elusive feeling to be able to describe to somebody else. In high school, we had to do a lot of sentence diagramming on the blackboard where the teacher would draw a really long line and put some complicated phrases up there, and you would have to figure out where all of the pieces fit. Maybe you also did this in your high school classes. But all it takes to make a sentence work or an independent clause work is one subject and one verb. So if you were going to diagram this sentence, the subject and verb would just be the child leaped, which is the kind of sentence that I could write about early Christmas mornings when I was growing up. And I would run from my bedroom to leap full speed onto my parents' bed and announce it was Christmas morning and high time to unwrap all of our presents. And I'm going to keep saying this phrase, the child leaped, a lot this morning so that I can hopefully keep you tapped into the kind of joy that I think this reading shares with us today. To their credit, my parents always made me stay in bed for like one more hour. That was tedious but exciting. A last bit of Advent that we spent together in the dark while we were still awaiting Christmas. Now that I'm a preacher standing here on the last Sunday before Christmas, this feels a little bit like running down the hallway in the wee hours of Christmas morning telling people that we're about to be unwrapping our presents. What a privilege to be able to preach with you on this very last Sunday of Advent, where we're so close to Christmas that we're practically tipping over into it. One wonderful thing about being away at school is that I always seem to end up here on holidays. So this year I've spent Mother's Day and Thanksgiving and now Christmas thinking about the best things to share with you all. So I'm beginning to achieve another childhood dream, which is opening my own Holiday Inn. When Pastor Kyle asked me if I might be available to preach on this day, I quickly looked up the Revised Common Lectionary because I admit that I had some doubts about whether after this semester I would be up to snuff to preach this morning. But as soon as I looked up the reading and found out what it was, I quickly said yes because of those three words, the child leaped. It was likely just a coincidence that since the very earliest days of this Advent season, I've been thinking about those three words that we heard together. Back at the beginning of December, when I was online sifting through all of the meandering and malicious pathways that the internet has to offer, trying not to spend too much time to look at bad news, trying to not sink too much energy into empty posts, I saw that one of my uncles had posted on Facebook this little verse from Luke and a little picture of a new baby with that as the caption. I think that he meant to share it as a reminder that the first person to get the good news of the coming of the Messiah was this unborn baby waiting in Elizabeth's womb. He and I have very different relationships with Scripture. I think he usually sees it as a rule book, whereas I kind of tend to see it more like a swimming pool. And I bet that you might know some people whose opinions you differ with on interpretations of this Christmas season or of other parts of the Bible that you encounter. I'm still waiting for the day that we will all understand each other, and I think that is a very long Advent season. But in the meantime, as I wait for that, I spend time being dismayed by the differences that I see in people who are expressing shared ideas of our Christian faith, especially when it comes to things like biblical standards for women that are really present in this passage. So I was amazed to find myself and this uncle who I often disagree with, that we had something that we could both appreciate in this verse. Because stumbling across that little verse that he had selected for whatever personal or political reason it was important to him, helped me draw into the beauty of this little moment in the Advent story. This brief, tiny moment where these two women, characters who often stand at like the peripheries of our biblical stories, come together in a conversation, just the two of them, in a space where they are the most powerful people. Just words to offer each other about the good news that they know to be true. So when I looked at that verse that my uncle had shared, I felt welcomed into a moment with God. So I'll say again, the child leaped for joy. God feels often like a conversation to me. A conversation in very comfortable chairs in a place where the light is just right and there's no timeline where anyone has to leave and get somewhere else. So I wonder what moments you see God the most. And if you close your eyes now, could you think about a moment in your life, in the scripture, or in any kind of movie or music piece that you've listened to where you felt really embraced by the beauty of God? And now, I wonder if you would turn to someone next to you in the light that's shining through these windows, as if you had no time at all to spare, or no time at all to waste, and tell them the good news that you brought with you to church today. So, go turn to someone, tell them the good news.